What's up, y'all? It's Christy.
I'm Courtney.
And I'm Rashana, and we are the 1000 Club.
Hey, the 1000 Club coming to you 2021.
Hey,
What's up,
hey.
guys? What's up, guys? Whoop, whoop.
Yes, welcome to the 1000 Club podcast. We are three friends and we talk everything: friendship, relationships, moving, what else? Dating, career, life, traveling, and shopping. This week we have a special guest, Dominique Lamb. She is the owner and real estate broker for the Haven Firm and the founder of We Teach Love. So we're going to get to her in a second. Welcome, Dominique.
Yes, welcome.
Yes, and those of you who are just listening, or this is your first time listening, you can catch us every other Thursday on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, and just about anywhere else you can listen to podcasts. So check us out. So, per usual, we start with the check-in. So, ladies, what's going on?
Christy, what you been
Well, let's see. It has been a busy 2021 thus far, and I am fortunate to have had some interviews because, we claim a promotion in 2021.
Yes.
So, yeah, I've had that. A lot has really been focused on work. So it's reflected in my day. I didn't even have time to really put thought into the look today because, yeah, it's been a crazy day. It's been busy, but thank you.
You woke up like
but
this?
yeah, it's been busy. The world is,
YouTube will cut us out.
the world is crazy. Oh, yeah. We ain't trying to pay for no copyright.
Exactly.
We ain't got Beyonce money,
okay.
Yeah, no. We trying to stack this year. We're not trying to pay for no lawsuits.
Okay.
But yeah, the world is crazy. Nevertheless, things are good on the personal front. So I'm really excited about this year.
Good.
What's been up with y'all?
Well, aside from this world being ghetto as AF, what have I been doing this year? It's first 2 weeks of January. I did 2 vision boards already. I did a personal vision board. Shout out to Vocal Action for the vision board party.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh. And then last night I actually did a love vision board for the first time. So I'm manifesting the love and relationship with my man this year. So I gotta find one. I don't have one yet, but I am manifesting him. He's on my vision board.
You have one. You have.
Yes. That's manifestation, right? You have to know that it's already here.
He's on his way. Okay, I'm about to meet him. My mom was like, "You gonna meet him this year?" I was like, "You got your glasses on because you trying to prophesy something." I don't know. Can you see? Right? But yeah, so I did that. Did a couple vision boards, and I'm just getting prepared for the year. Work is getting moving. A lot of changes. We just hired someone new, so I am doing a lot of training in the next couple of weeks, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
That sounds like a new year.
Yes.
The new year has been great. Can I talk about how I brought in the new year? So Courtney and one of our 1000 Club VIP, Crystal, she loves a shout out. Shout out to you, girl. They came to celebrate New Year's with me, and we had a really good, fun girls' weekend. It was called the 2020 Wind Down, and we started off Wednesday night with a dinner on, not dinner on Blanc, it was dinner on Sparkle. Okay, so we all wore sparkle. We had a catered dinner. So we had a private chef. That was really nice. Ooh. And then the next day was New Year's Eve. I had to do deliveries from brunch to lunch, as Courtney mentioned. But I think for the most part, we just kind of sat around and watched movies, which was really fun. And the theme for that was, I don't know, New Year's Eve. I forget now what it was. Every
glitter, sparkle attire.
Yeah. And then we watched church on TV because COVID. And we had champagne toast, we had Henny White, we had rum, we played games, which was a lot of fun. And we brought in the new year right. And then the next day, my consulting strategy and management company, we had our first event of the year, which is From Brunch to Launch, which is a professional vision board event. And we did it virtually this year. So that was pretty interesting. I got the survey results back. So all good remarks. But I'm interested too. And of course, I'm interested mostly per usual myself and, the comments about what can be improved, because we always want to get bigger and better. And as Courtney said, aside from white people being ghetto, I'm not even gonna say the world being ghetto, white people being ghetto, things have been great because it hasn't been us. So living my best life in 2021. You see, this is the best life hair going on.
That's hair.
Yes. And I want to give a special shout out to my dad first, because his birthday is coming up the day this airs. So happy birthday, Dad. He does not listen or watch the podcast, and I'm actually grateful because I'd probably be in trouble for some things. But I am happy, and we're doing a Zoom party for him, so I'm excited. And then I also want to give a shout out. Let me scroll down, not too much, because I'm party on the top and real sexy on the bottom. To my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta, Sorority Incorporated. 2020 tried to stop us, which was our centennial, but that's okay, because you know what, SG Rose, y'all might have to move over and share 2022 with us, okay, because we need a redo. So shout out to all of my sorors of Zeta Phi Beta for our Founders Day, which is January 16th. Yay! Dominique, what you been up to? I know you have a Founders Day too coming up.
I do. On Wednesday, shout out to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. What have I been up to? First of all, I was just so engrossed in what y'all was saying that I wasn't even preparing, to think about. But what have I been up to? It's been busy, which I think is good. It's been really busy and productive. I started probably in November thinking about what do I want 2021 to look like, and I'm just kind of wrapping my mind around all of that. But one of the things that I knew I wanted to do differently was address health things. So I've already had some doctor's appointments so far this year, and so that's big for me. And I've been really trying to be on my self-care. Yeah. One of my 2021 goals is, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like it's a universal thing for Black women, is that self-care is a cute thing to do when you can fit it in. And I want it to be self-care is the priority. Mm-hmm. I am the priority. I am the only priority. And then everything else I fit in when I have time. Yeah.
Yes. It's funny. I was thinking about that when Courtney was talking about her love board. And I was like, I wonder if there's a space, so y'all let us know, if there's a space to do a love board for yourself. Because especially with Black women, we manifest people, professions, all of these other things that are external to us. And one of the things that Michelle Obama says in her book, Becoming.
Okay, come on with the shout out to Michelle Obama.
Is that we are in charge of our own happiness, and so that's something that I'm holding on to. So yeah, I think it would be really cool. Y'all let us know if y'all be interested in that next year or even throughout the year. You know what I mean? Just really, what's the vision for loving yourself? Like you said, it's more than a fad. You really have to make it a priority. Make yourself a priority.
Yeah. And I realized it's not enough. For me, I have to be the priority, because I'm oh yeah, I'm up there. I'm in the top 5, but that still makes it really easy for me to do other things before I do what I need to do for myself. So now I'm okay, we got to go drastic, and I have to be the top and everything else comes after. And I have not figured out how to do it. I'm just saying that's what I feel like I need to do this year. That needs to be the mindset.
Yes, you can't pour from an empty glass.
Right. But we'll like go get some in this glass and pour it and keep doing it. And then be like, actually I am thirsty. I do need some for myself after we're like dying of thirst. So now it's like I just want to keep refilling my cup and sipping it intentionally. Like, this was for me. I did that for me. So
sip your tea.
Yeah.
And I love how you said like going like radical. Like, I'm just going to go all the way to the side that we ain't never been, which is like put yourself number one. I love that.
Yeah, because I feel like we've been on the opposite extreme. Like, I think that, I don't know, I just feel like it's a Black woman thing. Like, we're on that extreme where we don't do anything for ourselves. And then when you do one or two things, you really feel like, oh, I did something. And it's like, actually, you should be doing that all the time.
Right.
So I have to go all the way to the other side.
Yeah, I think it was going to come to this, though, because when you think about just the rise of Black women in terms of just our professional education, just really being the backbone of family and society and politics, clearly, it was going to come to this point where we would then finally decide that we need to put ourselves first. And while the world may see it as selfish, our partners may see it as inconsiderate, it's what we have to do. It's our turn, and it's always our turn because we are deserving. So.
Yeah. I mean, what's the alternative? They think that you're great because you keep giving them from your empty cup and you feel terrible.
Yes.
So.
The alternative is when somebody knuck if you buck, and then it's gonna be all great. That's the alternative.
But
That's real.
Let me just make this clear, okay? And I hope this ages well, me saying this, that no matter how full my cup is, I will still knuck if you buck, okay? Lips will still knuck if you buck.
I love that. That's a promise.
Yes. Put that on a t-shirt, okay?
Yeah. That is a t-shirt slogan.
Yes. You go ahead and put that out there before somebody else does.
Yeah, take a note.
Yes.
That is definitely a t-shirt I would wear.
I'm going to have to listen back to it and see what I said.
No matter how full
my cup is, I will still knuck if you buck.
Yeah. Okay. You gonna buy it? Are you gonna buy it, Dominique? Because
I will.
Okay. Okay. Because 2021 is out there where the money reside.
And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. Okay.
I will sure buy that. I will buy it and wear it. I am here for that.
Yes.
I think people would laugh when they saw it. They'd be like, true.
Hit the little Kim true.
Yes. We've been using that for what? 20 years? Okay. Little Kim true. And it has not gone out of style yet.
Right, exactly.
Well, we have Miss Dominique Lamb here today, and I'm proud to say that she's a good friend of mine. We go back to high school, Suitland Rams. And so Dominique has been such a go-getter and just accomplishing her goals at every step of the way. I think going back to high school, I just remember us like talking about our dreams, talking about what we're going to do after we graduate high school, then talking about what we're going to do after we graduate college. And then we like bought the houses, we got the jobs, we got the promotions. And then for you, you've started a business, you started a nonprofit, you wrote a book, you've done so much and continuing to do a lot. And so I think for a lot of us, for a lot of the goals that we have this year, you are already doing things that touch on those areas, whether it be in buying a home or in saving, investing, budgeting, even getting into relationships and healthy relationships. Like you touch on that as well. And so we wanted to have Dominique because, you know, it's the beginning of the year. Everybody sets goals, but if you don't actually make a plan to achieve those goals, then it's not going to get done. So I'm going to let Dominique introduce herself, come to us in her own way, and tell us about you.
When you were listing things, I had forgot about some of those things already because I think I'm the kind of person who, and I don't think this is necessarily a good thing, so I don't want to promote this, but I think that sometimes I check things off my list and then I move on and I don't necessarily like celebrate that enough or like sit with it enough because I'm on to the next thing. It's like, okay, what else are we doing? Because in my head, there's so much more to do, but each thing is important. So like even with the book, I was like, oh right, there's a book.
Yes, you did that, girl. You did it.
My name on it.
Girl, a whole book. A whole book.
And Christy helped with the book. And I was like, oh yeah. Because you know, you get to a place where it's about titles and not about your individual dreams. And so it's like, okay, I have the nonprofit, but before the nonprofit was the book. So I live two different lives professionally, because they both serve needs that I had and that I know like other people in the world have. So they were passions of mine, and then I found purpose in them. So one side is real estate. I got started in real estate mainly because I was having bad experiences with the agents I was hiring. I always like was interested in it, but in terms of actually making it a career, that's how that happened. And you know, since I started my real estate brokerage at 30, and so now it's been 3 years that I've had my brokerage, and the plan is, I guess what I really want to do with the brokerage is I want it to be a Black woman owned, you know, Long and Foster or Keller Williams or whatever. Like everything in the establishment is so white, and there needs to be household names that are Black.
White and male.
Right. Everything is white and male. And so I think it's, you know, really empowering. Like for me, I have 3 agents right now. I'm in the process of hiring more, but right now it's all Black women.
Yes.
And that feels really empowering to me too. So I've been doing real estate. I love real estate. In particular, I love teaching people about how to build wealth through real estate, how to build their portfolios, like how to see their home as an investment, and not just, I feel like in our community, we're kind of taught like, you know, once you get a house, just hold on to it, you know, don't lose it to the tax man, you know, don't, you know, like just hold on to it. And it does us a disservice, because we're not really taught like the rules of the game in the same way. So it's really important to me to teach what I do know. I don't know everything, but to teach what I do know to all of my clients. I don't ask any of them to just trust me. It's like, we're in on this together. I'm going to teach you what I know, and then we're in on this together to help you build wealth. And I make sure to tell them what would be in their best interest and not mine. Right. So that was an issue for me with the agents I had worked with. So it's like, it's in my best interest to, like, for Christy, I sold her house last year. It's in my best interest to sell your house, get the commission, and keep it moving. But with Christy, and Christy will tell you, I was like, Christy, you sure you don't want to hold on to this for that rental income? Which
wasn't you, Dominique.
It wasn't just it wasn't what worked out best for her. Exactly. And so we talked about all those reasons, but I've dealt with agents who were very short-sighted in that way, who were very like, you know, how much am I going to get on the commission? Because whatever gets me the most, that's what they're there for. And so me and my agents, that's not it's like, how are we helping you to build a portfolio? How are we helping you to have for us to have repeat business, not, you know, that one commission, but how am I positioning you to keep doing this? So so that's my real estate life. That is spilling over into other things. I started a real estate investment company. It's private, and it right now is by invitation only. But we have big plans to go public, to help increase Black wealth by crowdfunding real estate and helping Black people to understand all of their options for generational wealth, and just like things that frankly, I don't feel like as Black people really have the luxury of slowing down to think about. But we need to. We also don't have the you know, luxury of not thinking about them. So that's happening. I'm also working on an academy to teach real estate classes and wealth building classes. And that, again, just comes from my passion of like, here's the things I know, here's what I've learned. There are a lot of people out here who, you know, are not going to work with me, but they need to know what, you know, like things that will ultimately help me, because it helps our whole community. It helps the Black community. So,
we need to partner, Dominique, for a project that I have.
Let's partner.
Definitely. Yeah, we definitely need to sit down and talk.
Okay. Look, 2021 is about partnership too.
Yeah.
It's about collaboration. It's about partnership. It's about working smart. So I'm with it. I say yes. I don't even need to know what we collaborate on. The answer is yes.
Yes.
I'm with it.
Yeah, we definitely need to collaborate.
Okay. So the other side of my life, my work life, is healthy relationships, like Christy was saying. I grew up witnessing abuse. I was in an abusive relationship in high school and college, and I did not know that I was. Again, I feel like that's, you know, like we use different words besides abuse. We say, you know, he has a bad temper, y'all don't get along, y'all argue, y'all fight, but it's like, no, it's an abusive dynamic. So I actually was in grad school, and one of my professors recommended that I do this internship. It was like a paid internship, and it happened to be with a domestic violence awareness agency. And so I went there still not knowing that I had been in an abusive relationship. I knew something like physically abusive had happened to me, but I didn't classify myself as someone who had been abused, if that makes sense. So going there, the internship was to teach people at Northern Virginia colleges and universities what dating abuse is and what a healthy relationship is. So I had no idea. So they trained me like extensively so that I could do this. And then I started going and teaching these classes, and I realized from teaching and from being in the training that I was talking to myself, that like, oh, that's where you were. And I realized that's what I grew up seeing. That's what I normalized. That's, you know, like how I got there. So my little story, that's like the reason why I have to do this like for the rest of my life, is because well, now I have two, but at the time in grad school, there was, I would do survey evaluations after each class. And I assume a woman responded on one of them at the end and said that she was leaving her abusive husband because of what she had learned that day. And for me, that was like, everything I dealt with was worth it. It just was like, you just help someone leave their abusive husband. Like, I would do it all over again if I knew that that's what would happen. And so fast forward, I ended up writing a book called What Happens in This House. which the name actually came from the fact that growing up, my mom would say, what happens in this house stays in this house.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I knew it would resonate with people. So like, I know I'm not the only one who heard that. And with the book, I had a lot of, I put it out there. I put what happened in my house out there. And so there was a lot of anxiety and concern about, I was talking about my father, I was talking about my own relationship that was abusive, and what were going to be the consequences of that. But again, it was something that was just worth it to me to do, because people needed to know how to not be in that situation. So I shared the manuscript with my brother, my younger brother, before I published. And he's like reading the first couple pages, and he just like stops and he's like staring out into nothing. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, what just happened? And he says, he's like, I think I am emotionally abusive to my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just from reading that, he was like, I think that that's me. And he was like, and I've always wondered why I am this way. But he was younger, he's younger than I am. And so he didn't see all of the things that I saw growing up. But I'm a strong believer in energy, and he was in that house. He was in that energy, like he learned, without seeing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And from what he didn't see, because what I didn't realize that he shared with me was like, he's like, I've never seen our dad like kiss our mom or do something, like hold her hand or open a door for her, or it just was like, wow, like, yeah, that stuff was definitely absent. And I don't have, the male perspective to think about, yeah, how do you learn how to treat women in a household like ours? But they thought he didn't see, and he didn't. He didn't see enough, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So the book, I launched in 2016. With Christy's help. Christy was like instrumental to that book. It would not be out if it was not for Christy. And then I decided to start We Teach Love, which we teach healthy relationships, in particular because y'all know in the US we are not big on preventative measures. We're not big on like, how do we make sure that this never happens to anybody? We're like, okay, and domestic violence in particular, we're like, okay, so you're in this situation, let me get you a hotline number, let me get you to a shelter, here's a list of red flags, do's and don'ts, but it's never like, this is what it should look like, so if it doesn't look like this, you in the wrong thing.
Exactly.
It's like, we're like, well, if this is happening, it's bad, you need to get out. So I wanted us to focus on, this is what it's supposed to look like. And so anything that doesn't look like this is not for you. It's not, as healthy as it could be. So we're doing that. We have written a curriculum. We are trying to get it into public schools. That's my goal, is to get into public schools, so that it's taught like math or science. Like, I used to work for the Department of Education, and I had the opportunity to meet the secretary, and it was not Betsy, it was Arnie Duncan. And I sat down with him and I was like, it really doesn't make sense to me. He took me for a 15-minute meeting, y'all, and I thought I was the whole VIP.
Yes, you go.
I really was so excited. I was like, he's gonna meet with me like one-on-one for 15 minutes, because that's how much time he had. And I told him, I was like, it really doesn't make sense to me. I'm really challenged with the fact that my parents were able to teach me about sex and talk to me about sex, but they couldn't talk to me about relationships. And y'all in school are teaching me about sex and puberty and stuff, but not the context within which sex would ever happen. And y'all are relying on my parents to have the knowledge of what a relationship should look like, and they don't have it. So, and he was like, you're right. Like that should be, that goes together. That, and I'm like, all we do is relate to each other all day long. We relate to people, but we don't really know what we're doing. So that's the goal there. That's one of the goals. The second goal is a good friend of mine is the founder of Black Therapists Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to offer a mental health certification so that mental health professionals will be trained in our curriculum and our methodology to counsel their patients, their clients and patients. So those are my two worlds. When I'm not doing all the things working, I love 1000 Club and stuff. Like I'm always on 1000. So when I'm not, I am tired. And I'm like, let me just sit here and like let my brain be still for a minute, because otherwise it's like I'm thinking of ideas, I'm thinking of collaborations and partnerships, and so those are all the things I think. Is that all?
That's dope.
I'm sure you're missing some.
And just rest
Yes.
is also on 1000. Okay, rest is a part of.
Yes, you can't be on 1000 if you don't get your rest, if you're tired.
Yes. And Dominique, one of the things I appreciate about your nonprofit, We Teach Love, is how you are not, you take a chance to understand even the abuser in that sense, because oftentimes we focus heavily on the victim, which is what you're saying is also somewhat like reactive, right? Mm-hmm. But if you teach love, if you teach what healthy relationships are, if you teach them that it's about healthy communication, it's about commitment, I'm trying to think of the other words on the shirt, but if you teach them about those things, then that will also, it not only prevents a victim from becoming a victim, but it also encourages an abuser to identify those things in themselves, similar to, your brother identifying that I have some unhealthy habits, right? Like it allows them to do that so that they can be better for their partner. Mm-hmm. And also the work that you're doing, because I follow We Teach Love. And once I learned about it at I don't know if it was like your launch or something that you had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in DC. I take a lot of those elements and I relate them to any relationship, because it's not just like about intimate relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever, but you have to know how to have healthy relationships with your girlfriends, with your teachers, with your professors, with coworkers, anybody that you come into relationship with. You have to have that healthy grounding. And so I appreciate that your curriculum is definitely good for young people to learn while they're in school. It's also good for college students to learn as they go into college. It's good for young professionals going into the workforce. The work is just translated. It's able to be translated. So
yeah. Can I say one thing about that you just reminded me of? It definitely is college. I was teaching it at George Mason actually, and they were using the book. So it's definitely, and it was an adjustment for me to go to lower grades, to go into secondary school, because I was like, is this something we can reconceptualize? But we have all the way down to 4th grade level. Mm-hmm. And we got to the 4th grade level because we were pitching the curriculum to Sidwell Friends, and they have a million different, initiatives and programs for their students, but they had a program where it was like, yep, you fit right in with 4th grade students learn about reproduction and babies and all that kind of stuff. So we got it down to that level. But even when we were pitching to them, and Sidwell Friends, y'all know, is like one of the premier schools in the country. Mm-hmm. I was having reservations because I was like, this is not my target audience. This is not who I felt needed it, right? And my writing partner, she was like, yeah, but they could be the perpetrators. They're the ones who we anticipate will have all this privilege and could perpetrate abuse. And so they are our target. And I was like, you're absolutely right. I was feeling kind of like these are not the people who need it because they're not going to be the victims.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you know what? Change. Everybody needs it.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, people who may perpetrate abuse, even if it's in the workplace, even if it's, you know, like with peers in the world, like those kids are going to grow up and be in the same world as the people who I do think are a target. And how are they going to treat them? You know, like when we look at what happened on the Capitol, it's like, how are they going to treat Black people?
Yeah.
So
they also might be in situations now where they're not being taught love. You know, they're being taught things that are transactional. They're being taught that everything is negotiable. Everything's a business. You know, you have young people who they may grow up in like affluent neighborhoods, but that doesn't mean they see mom and dad every day. You know, so where are they learning love from? If they, you know, like their own parents aren't showing it to them. So everyone needs to learn healthy ways of love. So I think fourth grade is great. And these days, these fourth graders are
a little advanced.
Not advanced, so not a little advanced, they're advanced. So.
That's so true.
Dominique, what would you advise for those who have relationship or love goals? I know, Courtney, you mentioned you have a love vision board. For those who are looking into getting in either to new romantic relationships this year, or even we talk a lot about friendship on the podcast, for those who want to repair relationships or want to meet new friends, establish new relationships, what are some of those things that we should be mindful of in cultivating healthy relationships?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will say, Courtney, I have a similar board. And what I did was one day I was just inspired to write, what are the things that I would say to my friends or to my partner so that I could manifest that partner? So I just wrote, like, this is what, like, things I would say to them directly or about them. Like, if I was talking to y'all, I'd be like, y'all, he is so fine. Like, he is so, woo! You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff I wrote on there. Or, like, directly, what would I say to him? And why, like, reading it now, because I haven't hanging on my wall, I realized, like, a lot of the things that I said about him, like, oh, he's so trustworthy. He's so patient. I was like, oh, I need to be those things.
Yep.
I was like, oh, this. So when y'all were talking about the self-love board, I was like, oh, this needs to be about me. So that's one thing I would say. Two, I would say get very clear about boundaries. I just am moved to talk about boundaries with all your relationships, because I think we're not really like comfortable with that generally. And if you want to have a healthy relationship, you have to get comfortable with boundaries. So I would say revisit that. But in my book and in We Teach Love, we talk about the 5 factors that Rashana was mentioning, which are communication, safety and respect, which we kind of lump together, trust, balance, and intimacy. And they do apply to every relationship you have. And so I would say, if you want to repair something, go back and see that there's an order to it, right? I just said them in order. If you're missing intimacy or balance, you got to look to see, where are we with communication, safety, and respect and trust? Because we can't get there without those things. Like, the best example I can give is that you can't trust someone that doesn't respect you. You can't skip from, you can't skip over setting boundaries and communicating about what's respectful between us and be like, I trust this person. So I would say, look at those 5 factors and see what's lacking in the relationship, and then go back to see, okay, what groundwork needs to be laid for us to get that thing. And with intimacy, just to put it out there for your listeners, intimacy is not just sex. Intimacy is, the thing, to me, it's the thing that's sacred to the relationship. It's the thing that like sets that relationship apart from the other ones. So if, I love to use the example of our, first Black president, Barack, um, who would read Harry Potter with, I want to say it was with Malia, and that was their thing. That's an intimate thing. Like that was sacred to them. He didn't do it with Sasha. He didn't do it with Michelle. It wasn't just like, oh, whoever. It was like that's their thing that they bond over. So I just wanted to put that out there. Like, with your mom, you have things that are y'all thing, or with your best friend, and that's what makes them your best friend. And so that's really what intimacy is like that thing that's like our thing.
Mm-hmm.
That makes us different. So I would say, yeah, looking at those 5, and we also have a podcast where we like break down things, into those buckets are huge, right? So we break them down even more. And we do offer like one-on-one sort of teaching. Right now we're teaching, oh, this is something I forgot. Can I just put this in here?
Go ahead.
This is what Christy probably was talking about. So we are currently, I don't know how I forgot about this, y'all. We are currently teaching these women in Uganda our curriculum because we are trying to expand and have them teach it in their schools there.
So,
COVID totally threw that off. So we don't know when their schools will be open, but we're teaching it in the meantime so that they'll be ready to teach it when they can. So I don't even know. I think boundaries made me think of that, but we do teach like one-on-one to break down these concepts because it can be a lot, but we try to do it for free too. So like through the podcast, like one of my favorite episodes on the podcast is Say the Scary Thing.
Yeah.
Which we're just talking about how important it is to like address, to be communicative, to be vulnerable, and say whatever the scary thing is that you're afraid to say, with your whatever relationship we're talking about, right? And then go from there. Like once you say it and put it out on the table, it's so much easier to manage than when it's like, oh, I don't want to say that. And it came actually from a married couple who were like having fertility issues, and the wife said, I'm afraid if I can't have a baby, you're gonna leave me. And it was like, that's the scary thing, right? Like, so she said it, and then they were able to deal with it. So I would say there's so many different things, but I think I hit like the big things that are common for people. So yeah, but we can always, I could go on and on and on about that.
Oh yeah, I know you can. I know you can. So let us know about the podcast. Where can we find it when our episodes release?
Okay, it's on Anchor. We post everything on Anchor. So the same places that your podcast is, that this podcast is. So when they're listening to 1000 Club, after they finish 1000 Club, you can go over and search We Teach Love. We're on, like I said, Apple, Google, Spotify, yeah, all the things, Anchor
all the
is
platforms.
so amazing at sending you out everywhere, and then Google picks up the rest. So it's pretty much everywhere. If they can listen to this, they can find us.
Exactly.
So finish this, go over to We Teach Love.
Yes.
Exactly. So I have a few questions for you, but I remember this was maybe like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
We would be at your house and we'd be sitting down and talking, and you'd be talking about when I leave the government. Because as Dominique shared, she worked for Department of Ed and another government agency. I currently work for the government. So we would share our government story. And so I remember you always saying, when I leave the government.
Girl.
And I know you had a date in mind of when you were going to leave. And I feel like everything you did aligned with that plan. Can you tell us, like, I know there's a lot of people who want to step out there, leave their
Yeah.
full times, go ahead and do full entrepreneurship or full-time consultancy. Rashana had a Vocal Action LLC brunch to lunch clubhouse
Oh, cool.
meeting, and it was about doing it afraid. And I think a lot of people, and this is a common thing I've seen on Instagram, is a lot of people are going to jump out there and do things afraid this year. Like, they're going to be fearful of it, but they're going to go ahead and do it. So tell us about your journey from going from working full-time for the government, getting that good government check.
Okay, and the benefits, girl.
Yeah.
That's how they get you. They get you with the benefits, okay?
They sure do.
Great benefits, y'all. I had great benefits. And I was like miserable in the government. It was like what Christy was saying, like, it's crazy to think it was that long ago now. But I was like, I have to get up out of here. I can't do it. And what's crazy is some of the people who were committed, like they were close to retirement age, have been in the government forever. They were like, yeah, you got to get out of here. You got stuff to do. Like, you got to go. So first of all, I will say God gave me the vision that I was leaving the government well in advance of me leaving. So I had a lot more preparation time. Like, I knew by a certain year, I needed to be saving my leave so I could get paid out. I knew I needed to be saving money so that I had some money to leave. And I think it was because I knew me. Like, I needed a lot of plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G to be comfortable leaving. Even with God saying that's what was going to happen, I needed that for me. So I was working, I had that in mind. I had like a little spreadsheet in Google Drive for years of like, okay, here's what I'm gonna use my leave on so that I can keep some leave. Because we're talking, I started in the government in 2012 and I left in 2018. So, I wasn't even making that much leave at first. Like the 4 hours and then the 6 hours. So I had like to be really strategic about, okay, this is how much leave I have, this is how much I'm gonna use, because I want to have this much that they pay me for. And what happened, I was thinking I was gonna leave sooner, but then when Trump came in office, he wanted to get rid of my agency because Obama started my agency, the agency I was with. So he was talking about getting rid of us. They were throwing out things like severance, buyout, all kinds of things. And so I, at that point, was praying about it like, well, do I just go or do I wait so they can pay me to go?
Right.
So I waited. I kept stacking. I was vested. I made sure I was vested. So if I'm speaking to government people, I would be like, don't leave before you're vested. Don't, in everything. It doesn't take that long. What'd you say, Rashana?
I said, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Even if it's just the day after, don't leave before you're vested.
Yep.
So I got vested in everything. And I also let them pay for me to build my skill set. So when I'm talking about those plan A, B, C, D, the agency I was with, thankfully, because I know this isn't the case for all agencies, they were very big on training. So they paid for me to take the PMP boot camp training.
Yes.
I got my PMP before I left. I was a core, so I got up to level 3 before I left. I was working for a project management office. I was trying to get as many backup plans as I
feel
could.
like I got the short end of the stick with the New Jersey government because they'll be paying for nothing.
Oh, and I don't know how different it is between federal and state, but
I think
for
it depends
federal,
on the state.
Yeah, but even for federal, when I worked for education of all agencies, they were not there was no money. They were like, take some free training if you can when you're not working. But the second agency I was with, Office of Financial Research, they were like, we want you to get, they were investing in us.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, maybe even move around and see what you can get to,
Yes.
you know. And for me, I will say too, I realized, I think I shared this with you, Christy. I realized at one point and knew I was leaving, y'all. But still, I was like, why is everybody getting paid so much more than me? Like, I need to stay here and move up. And then I was like, but this is not for me. This is not what I want to be doing. Mm-hmm. And if I was making what they were making, it would have been so much harder to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm making good money. I need to just, you know, like stack my money, do what I got to do, invest it, and be ready to go. Because if I had been making what they were making, some of them were making like 40,000 more than me, I would have stayed longer. I would have been, you know, because you spend more. You're like used to that life. So, but I stacked a good amount of money. And interestingly, I went to a bunch of people I knew who had left the government and worked for themselves and still work for themselves now. And I asked them, I was like, how much money did you have saved before you left? And they were like, I didn't have no money saved. They made the decision. And like, you know, the next pay period, they were gone. So I was like, okay, I'm a little bit ahead of the game. I got some money saved. And again, everybody's threshold for what you need is different. But by then I was working full time and I was doing real estate on the side. So I was able to save, like, I think I saved enough where if I didn't earn any money, I could pay my bills for like a year and a half or 2 years.
Wow, that is good.
Feel like I can go. Like that was enough for me. For somebody else, it might be a little bit less. Also for different industries, it might be a little bit less because real estate takes time, you know, for money to come in. So it might be different if you're going into a different industry. But that was what I needed. And so once I had that, you know, and making all the plans, I was like, okay, I can go. And so they did, you know, if you're in the government, you're familiar with RIFs. They did a RIF for my agency. And so everybody else is applying for other jobs. And
what is a RIF?
It's a reduction in force. It's kind of like the government's way of doing a laid off thing. But the thing is, in the government, thankfully, they give you preference somewhere else. So when you get RIF'd, you can apply somewhere else and get to the front of the line. So all my coworkers were doing that. And I was like, y'all, I'm going to ride this out. I'm not applying. I didn't apply anywhere. You know, again, like I think if you're in the government, you have to look at what you're doing. I knew because I was a core, I could do contracts if I had to. Because I'm vested, I was like, if I had to, I could come back. But, you know, like getting the PMP, it was just like, I know I can do something else, even if what I want to do doesn't work out. So I'm going to leave and take this chance. But yeah, so I just wrote it out. That was 2018. And now we're in 2021. And I can't imagine going back. I'm like, there is no way. I will make a way to not to go back. And those benefits were amazing. But no, I can't do it. Not for me.
I have a question. I know Christy's going to ask another question in a second. But
they are hard to walk away from.
Yes. This is a personal question for myself. But I am deciding whether to go forward with the PMP or not. And I have other project management certifications. You're a business owner. And so where I'm at right now is, as a business owner, do I really need the PMP?
Girl.
I just need to hire people who have the PMP.
Yeah.
Being that I have the project. Both? Okay. And why?
I was in the same place. I had to be convinced to get the PMP. I
Okay.
really was like, I'm not staying with the project management office. I'm leaving. I'm going to work for myself. I can hire people, so I don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
And but if you are in a position where you can get somebody to help you pay for it,
Right.
because those boot camp, like I would highly suggest a
I
boot.
saw it. They're like $3,000.
Yeah, mine was $3,000, and they paid for it because I would never have paid that. Never. So if you can get them to pay for that and get the skill, which was the advice I got repeatedly because I needed to hear it several times, um, just to have it in your bag to
Mm-hmm.
always be able to pull out. So now I wouldn't say I even really use it. I think people who get the certification, most of the people who get it already have those skills,
Yeah.
not doing it, according to the PMBOK. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I already had the skills, but it's impressive to some people to hear that you have it or see
Yeah.
it, and it makes them think, okay, well, you have this certification or whatever, so someone has certified your skills instead of you just saying, I do this and I have experience. And so
Mm-hmm.
now, especially this year, where I want to do these collaborations with people, I want to partner with people, I realize I'm like, oh, that's in my bag. I can say I have this certification, and then I don't have to explain anything about that because I have that certification. And we can still go hire somebody to do the actual work because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it anyway because I want to be the visionary person.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but being able to say that that's something I'm capable of, I have seen that as like, in as much as it's important to impress people, it's been helpful because I don't have to speak to that experience at all. I just say I have it, and people are like, "Oh, okay, so that's a whole bag of skills she has."
Yeah. We'll have to talk offline.
Okay, she's like, "I'm not convinced."
Um, we'll have to talk
I
offline.
was there. I was there. I was like, "Y'all, I'm not doing this. I don't need it. I don't." And
I've also been in school for the past year and a half for these certifications, and so I feel like I'm really just kind of boot camp
over it.
out right now. But yeah, I'll follow up. Thank you.
Okay.
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 So I'm gonna just ask one more of my questions because I know you have some classes that you're gonna offer, and we can learn more about these in your classes.
Yeah.
So, as Dominique mentioned, and we've mentioned on the podcast before, you were my realtor for when I sold my house. And so I think I want to buy a property either by the end of the year or at least sometime in 2022. We'll see how things go.
Mhm.
But what advice do you have for those who want to buy a home this year, either as first-time home buyers or for those looking for an investment property?
Okay. Well, first of all, obviously hire the Haven firm because
Right.
will
That's number one.
you. That's number one. That's first advice. Um,
They sure will.
I would say um, make sure you buy as soon as you can because we don't know what's going to happen with these historically low interest rates we have right now. But I say as soon as you can because you obviously can't rush that. Also work with someone, like if you're working with the Haven firm, the lenders that we work with are people who find money for our clients. So if you are, first time home buyer, there's lots of programs you can leverage. If I'm talking to people who are in DC, if you're in the DMV, there's money. And even if you have the money, keep your money and use this free money, like use the money that someone else is offering you to buy a house. Take advantage of that. So I would say that. I would say also think about how long you want to be in the house and think about it as an investment, um, even if it's a first time thing. So one of the things that I learned that I will always, always, always share, this is a little free tidbit, is um, white people buy houses every 2 years.
Yep.
We don't. We buy it and we hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a person who is in a position where you can do that, and I think COVID has made that a possibility for way more people, because even if you have kids now, they're not, you know, going to the school right now. So if you can buy something every 2 years and either rent out what you have or sell it at, you know, if the market is right, sell it, you can stack a lot of money. So I bought my first house in 2014. This is my dog trying to come be on the camera. And and it was a foreclosure, and within a year, I had 6 figures in equity. And the person who told me about the buying every 2 years thing was like, "Oh, sell your house." And he's white. And I was like, "No, I just like made all these renovations to my house. I just made it my own. This is my first house." Like, I'm arguing with him. And he's like, "It doesn't matter. It's not your forever house. You know that. You knew that when you bought it, that it wasn't your forever house. And you have $100,000 in it. Take it out and go get something else." And he was like, "After you do that 2 or 3 times, you'll have, 300,000 stacked up, and you can buy what you want to buy, or, be that much closer to what you actually want to have." I wish I had taken his advice, because I didn't. Thank God my house um, maintained its value. Since then, it's even gone up higher, but I sold it for 105,000 more than I paid. Before I sold it, I refinanced it and got some cash out. I bought a condo that has also appreciated by, I think I'm up to 150,000 now in equity from what I paid, and almost 200,000 for compared to what I owe. And so I would just say, see it as an investment, because it is, whether you acknowledge it or not, it is.
It is.
So
So
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna ask a question, but I didn't know if you were done or not.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, for people, well, I am the only non-homeowner on this call. For the
not a
moment, I will
homeowner.
be.
She's not a homeowner no more.
oh, right. Okay. Well, Christy has been a homeowner before. I've never been a homeowner. But I live in the North New Jersey area.
Okay.
And for people who may be in my situation, who are looking to kind of stop paying a mortgage for an apartment and start to own something, but also maybe in that space where it's kind of scary to do that in an area where houses cost so much money.
Mm-hmm.
You've been used to renting for a long time, but you also don't want to miss out on the historically low interest rates that are happening right now, because you never know what's going to happen. What kind of advice? For me, I'm asking personally because that's what I'm looking to do. Yeah. But I'm asking for advice for anyone else who's listening who may be in that situation. What would you suggest?
Yeah. I would say still buy, because prices are going to keep going up. There is a cap, right? Like, there's a certain amount we're going to get to, and it's like nobody's paying more than X amount for this house. But you can always rent it out. So it can still always be an investment for you. Like, it can always be something that helps you to earn more income, passive income. And I think also the other part to that is that asset will always help you to leverage into other assets. So even if it costs, I mean, I will say I'm not a huge fan of new construction, because it takes so much longer to build equity than existing construction. But even with new construction, you will always have that asset you can leverage and use for something else. And things are always changing. So I would just say, if you're in an area like DC is similar, if you're in an area where prices are really high, then you might need to be willing to do a little work in order to get more equity and see more return on your investment. Or look in areas where it's like, this is an up and coming area. Look in the areas where it's like you starting to see white people and you surprised. Like, oh, I can't believe I saw her walking her dog in this neighborhood.
Right.
That's where you need to be, even when it's expensive, because it's gonna keep going up. And I think even for Christy and I used to live like 3 minutes from each other, and in our neighborhoods, which were side by side, I think that our prices were, we both got good deals, but I think our prices were high compared to like what our parents paid. Like we paid for our townhouses what our parents paid, maybe more, for a single family house.
Oh yeah.
And we both sold them for significantly more than we paid, and it hadn't been as many years, right? So it is going to keep going up. But you got to get in the game and get started somewhere, and then maybe consider, my new COVID advice is consider moving to another area that's growing more rapidly, because if you feel like this area is tapped out, like they've maxed out, and trust me, when you think that, they haven't, they will find a way. But if that's what you think, move somewhere that, where there's still room for growth. So like right now, I'm looking at property in Georgia because they are actively gentrifying in Georgia. And if they're going to gentrify, then we need to be a part of the investment. So I feel like Georgia is where DC was maybe like 20 years ago, something like that. And so their prices are still low. They're still building up there, like there's still a lot of room for growth for them. And your money can go further there. And how do I have money to do that? Because I invested in DC and I invested in DC, by the way, in 2018, when people were like, you can't get anything in DC, it's so expensive. And, so it is possible, but you need to get a good team who's like advocating for you and thinking about you building wealth and not just you getting into a house.
Right.
And then look at what are all your options for that, with your team. And if you want, I'll talk to you too about, Jersey. I haven't considered getting my license just yet up there. But I have had some people ask me about it, so we can talk too.
Yep. We're gonna do that.
I have two quick questions. Hopefully they're quick.
I'll try to be quick.
It's okay. The first thing I wanted to ask about is similarly, like if you live in a place where it's very expensive. I had a friend who, she lives in an apartment, but she owns a house or a row house or whatever in Baltimore. And what she does is she rents that out, and that mortgage pays for the mortgage in Baltimore, which is very low, but she can rent it at a higher value, and it pays for her apartment. So pretty much the money that she gets, and she lives in a nice apartment in Silver Spring, and so with 1 bedroom, and not only it's a 2-bedroom actually, and basically the money she gets, she uses to travel all the time. And because she's traveling all the time, she uses one of the apartments for Airbnb.
Oh, okay.
Over there. You know what I mean? So it's like, she was the first person that I learned that from. And she's like, yeah, if something happens, I just go move in my house, or I'll sell my house and, whatever. But the lifestyle that she lives and that she wanted to live was not conducive to her being tied to one place. She always wanted to just have that freedom. And so that's another way that I wanted to offer, and maybe ask about even offline about, what that looks like.
Yeah. That's my goal for 2021. That's one of them, is to be able to pay all of my monthly bills with passive income.
Yes.
Like I'm still going to work, but I want my work money to be stacked and invested. We're going to do something with it. But I want to know the bills are paid whether I work or not. That's my goal for 2021. I think that's a brilliant plan. I think you have to do your research to see how to do that. Like, what are the areas? Because you can't go to all parts of Baltimore and get the rent you
exactly.
need for that. But another alternative to doing something like that is a multi-unit. If you move into a multi-unit, up to 4 units is considered residential. You can get a regular home loan and buy up to 4 units all together. So I have a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine. She bought a 4-unit in, what year was that? I want to say it might have been 2010 or something like around there. What she paid is like what you would pay for a regular single family home around that time. And she did it because she was a government contractor and she wanted to know that even if she didn't have a contract, she had someplace to stay.
Yes.
So she's in a 4-unit, she lives in one, rents out the other 3, lives debt free because these people pay the mortgage and then she has a good job. So she has paid all her student loan, everything is paid off. And now she just has money to invest in different real estate ventures and stuff like that. And so I've always looked at her as an example of like, yeah, I need to have passive income that, you know, people are always going to need somewhere to live. So if you own property, that's why I tell people, like, just get in. Because if you own property, someone will always need somewhere to live. And you'll always be able to find someone to rent it, even if you got to rent it for what you pay in mortgage. You know, just so someone is paying your mortgage, that you will always be able to find someone to do that. And, you know, like, I think sometimes we're afraid because we're like, well, what happens if I lose my job? Like, you know, with your friend, what she said, I'm moving to my house or I'll do whatever. I told a cousin of mine, he had saved up $20,000, y'all. And he had saved it because he was living with my aunt and uncle. And so he was like, okay, I'm ready to move out. They were like, well, just get an apartment. You don't need a house, you know, like just get an apartment. And I told him, I was like, you need to buy a house. And they were like, well, what if he loses his job? And I was like, well, if he loses his job, he gonna need to move out and move in with y'all and regroup, regardless of where he lives. I was like, but if he loses his job and he owns the property, he can move in with y'all, rent it out to somebody else, have a little income helping him regroup. If he is renting, then he got to get out. You don't have anything to show for it. And he still got to regroup and live with y'all. So he, you know, it'd be better to invest that $20,000 now than, you know, for him to spend it all on an apartment. And so he ended up, you know, buying something in Waldorf, and of course it's like appreciated in value. He did have issues with his job, but never lost that house because they'll also work with you. And I was like, that's something too that I think in our community we need to work on, is like rallying around each other. And like, if you need help paying your mortgage and I can help you pay it so you can keep your house, that's what I need to do.
Exactly.
Instead of, you know, like instead of you losing it, getting foreclosed or whatever. So, but that's a whole other day. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, it's like no, I was gonna say I had so many more questions, but I think we'll just go ahead and wrap our topic segment up. But let us know what's next for you. Where can we connect with you? And what do you have in store for the rest of 2021?
So many things, girl. I'm really excited about like collaborating with other people and like seeing what we can create together. So I'm really excited about doing that. And I don't even know what all those things are gonna look like yet. I am, you know, have y'all, as you gotten older, gotten real pro-Black?
Yeah. I've always been this way.
Yeah.
I've
Extra
always
Black,
been
blackity
pro-Black,
black.
but it's been extra. It's like
all Black,
like
everything.
Black. Like I was always Black, but I'm Black now.
My parents put me in a lot of like Black groups growing up. So
yeah.
No, I'm with you, Dominique. I'm Black.
It's a new level. It's a new level within the last like 5 years. And so everything that I have coming up is really targeted to Black people and us increasing our wealth and, you know, having healthy relationships. Everything has really been about that, unapologetically. So I would say people can find me at havenfirm.com, at weteachlev.org. If you want to know, you know, be the first to know more about the classes that I'm going to be teaching, go to havenfirm.com and, you know, sign up for the newsletter and the mailing list. Or send me a contact us. I get all of those so I can respond. I think all my handles are Haven Firm, Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. For We Teach Love, it's we_teach_love. And we're on Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, I'm just trying to be on my self-care and I'm serious about this passive income thing for 2021. So I'm really going hard with that. And I think, you know, I'll have to drop some little tidbits to y'all offline to share with your group as more things unfold. Because there's things I'm working on that I can't share yet. They're not public yet, but they will be. So yeah, I would just say find me and I'll tell you because I'm an open book.
Yeah.
Y'all see I talk a lot. If you ask me one question, I'm gonna give you 30 words back.
But you spread that knowledge, you drop those gems, so it is okay.
I be trying and I'm trying. I'm just gonna say in 2021, everybody need to monetize what you got.
Yes.
I am one of those people who will tell everybody everything for free. And everybody's been saying back to me, you need to monetize that. And I'm like, okay. So I'm gonna charge $20 for
it. There you go.
Right.
For real. Seriously.
So after every segment, we always do a section on what are we grateful for, grateful on 1,000. But I want to ask this question, I guess, in line with the question Christy asked earlier and just now. Ladies, what is one goal that you're looking forward to in 2021? I know I switched it up. Yeah.
I'm looking at it because you're first.
Oh, I am first. Oh, okay. I'll go first. I'll go first. One goal I'm looking forward to in 2021 is really securing the bag to buy a house and monetize and build wealth. That's definitely something that's always been something I want to do, but this year it's like it's up there, priority top 5, maybe top 2. Right under me is that securing the bag. So that's the goal, to really, you know, get financially confident, build wealth, financial wellness. So that is one of my goals for 2021.
Yeah.
Christy, what you got?
Yeah, for me, it's similar, really changing the bad habits that I had around money, not just money, also around my health, but around money so that I can save more, invest more, and pay down debt. And part of that investment will probably look like buying another property, keeping it open, just being on ready for when I see something to go ahead and purchase. And then one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately, it's one word, is alignment. And so one of the goals, I don't know if this is a goal, but one of the things that I want to make sure I do is in everything I do this year, that it aligns with my goals, with my passion, with my purpose.
Yeah. I like that.
What was that? The 3 things that came together: passion, purpose, profession. There we go. Yes.
Yes. For me, I'm really looking forward to giving and serving. That is definitely something that is prominent for me this year. And giving doesn't mean giving everything free. But what it means is giving myself to many things, and serving in those capacities, because that's the energy that that I need to put out there. So that is what I'm looking forward to, giving and serving.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I am specifically planning to meditate every day this year.
Mm.
I don't even know, I'm not even gonna lie and say whether or not I've done it every day so far. Because to me, it's like I just need to do it. So if I say I'm gonna do it every day, even if I'm just present for 60 seconds, I did it. Because that does wonders for me. And I am committed to travel this year. I'm going somewhere. I know all COVID, but I'm going. I'm going somewhere. I got
Yeah.
to.
Let me know,
Yes.
travel agent.
Okay.
Look, call me up, Dominique. You know, I'm ready to go.
Look.
Yes.
That is a goal for real. I need to. It's I need to. Well, we need to go to Africa. Christy is the reason that I went to Africa for the first time in my life.
I know, I was so jealous for you when I was like, man, I wish I had the money to go to.
I dropped everything. You know what was crazy? I just told Christy my ticket was only $700 round trip.
Yeah, I ain't
And
had
that
no
right, I'm not saying only like that, but it was for me. Kenya was like that's been on my list since I was a kid, so it felt like if I can go and I don't have to pay for anything but my ticket, I'm gonna make that happen. And so travel, I feel like life is so short. If 2020 didn't teach me anything else, taught me that life is so short. And so this year it's like those things you putting off for someday, one day, things, that I think I should have, but I don't. I'm going for all of it. I want more than I thought possible in 2021.
Yes. I love that. So really quick, ladies, 20 seconds, a quick giveaway or takeaway from this conversation. And I'm just gonna ping you guys. So stay lit, you go first. 20 seconds, giveaway or takeaway.
Okay, so my takeaway and giveaway from what we learned from Dominique is two things. Number one is sacrifice, because you have to be able to sacrifice some of your own comforts to build what you want to do. That also goes in line with my giving and serving for 2021. And secondly, something that I promote in my business all the time is write it down. Create the plan, write what you want, manifest it, put it up somewhere so you can see it and achieve it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Christy, what you got?
Yes. So my takeaway is had it. My takeaway is just had it. Gosh, sorry.
Okay, we're gonna come back to you. Dominique, what you got?
My takeaway is celebrate. Like celebrate the things that you're doing, like right now, today. And because I don't celebrate, and this made me celebrate some of those things and acknowledge them. And then also along the same lines of like manifesting an alignment, like manifest your alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Write it down, do a vision board, whatever you got to do to manifest, your alignment.
Yes. Christy.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
All right. So my takeaway, passive income monetization. And then the other is when God gives you a vision, don't get distracted by anything that doesn't align with that vision.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
My takeaway and giveaway is, sorry guys, I had like a little fur for my blanket. Be intentional and take risks, and then prioritize self. Those are the two things. Prioritize self, the two things from this conversation. Yeah. So with that said, thank you guys for checking us out today, listening and watching the 1000 Club. The next episode drops Thursday, January 28th. You can catch us on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and every other place that you listen to your podcast. We release new episodes every other Thursday. Be sure to subscribe, to like, our podcast to follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, and check us out. Leave us some comments, give us some feedback, and tell us why you love and live on 1,000. So, with that, ladies, we are out.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I forgot that it was me today.